I don't look at this as a lecture as such, but I look at it as a conversation from a senior to her juniors, because that's what I see each one of you as. So when Sir asked me to come and interact with you today, he said that today's theme was a life in theatre, and possibly what I have learned from this association. So I'll maybe give you a couple of inputs to start off with, but later on if you have questions, feel free to ask, or even in between if you want to ask a question, go ahead and ask. Because what you are going to go through in the next 3 years is something that I've already done. So I know all the secrets, okay, behind this particular experience that you're going to go through. If someone asks me the question, did you stop theatre after college? My answer is no, I'm a teacher. Theatre is very much part of my life. So something that I really learned is that theatre is not confined to the stage that you have here. As Shakespeare said it, all the world's a stage and men and women are merely players or actors on it. And that's the truth of it. Because your experience or your interaction with theatre is going to go well beyond that 50 minutes of of stage time that you get, or the 10 minutes of a street play that you do. It's basically life skill building according to me. Because there are so many things that I've learned that now if I reflect, I say that yes, it was theatre, but at that time, it was just a group of us who came together purely because we had so much of fun. We are a family, right, as Hashmi Theatre, which means that we compete with each other. Think about it, you all are going to compete with each other for roles, for different positions in this particular forum. You are going to get angry with each other as well at some point. At the same time, you're going to console the other person, you're going to support the person. So it's a family, and I've spent a lot of my after college life in rehearsals and also during class hours as well. So wink wink, it's a great experience that you will have. Now, thinking about the skills, I look at theatre, it's an art. And if you look at it, an art is basically an area for expression. It's an area where you can maybe communicate intercultural, you can learn about culture. And of course, it's education at the best. And that's what theatre is. So the very first thing that I picked up from theatre was the idea of expression and self-expression. And it's so important. A lot of us think that expression is maybe speaking. By the way, this is the first time that I've possibly used a mic on the stage. Because Lava sir taught us that our voice, you have to hear our voice, and there should be no mic, right? You should be able to throw your voice. But now I won't do that. So when you look at expression is something that I really hold, that I've learned from this association, that I use even today. Expression, anyone, what would expression entail? Emotions, right? So on stage I had to be happy, I had to be sad, I had to be irritated. I did a play when I had a husband who was horrible and I had to be very, very angry at him all the time. I didn't feel the anger, but that's what I had to portray. So emotion, what else? Is that just it? Does your expression, when you express yourself, is it contained just with your facial expressions?
Body language.
Body language, that's something I learned. The first play I did, so sir has this habit where he will record all your plays, which means you do like a post-mortem after you finish, like you analyze. And I noticed that in a play, and I thought I was brilliant at it. Right? I said, oh wow, how well I have done, and I came off stage. Went back, played the video, and I found out that when I was talking on stage, I was standing like this. My hands were not moving. If I had to point at something, I pointed it, and again my hand would come back down. So I learned that day, it's so important for us that body language is also incorporated into how we express ourselves. Your hand movements, your gestures, how you stand on stage. All of these things you pick up. And overall it works on your presentation skills. Anything else you can think of? So we said facial expressions, we said our body language. Anything else? Dialogues. And think about it. I also had to pick up on things like voice modulation. Imagine giving an entire dialogue that says, friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears. I come here to bury Caesar, not to praise him. Very monotonous. So voice modulation is also something I picked up. Now, where do I use that in today? I use that for my classes. It's as simple as that. You're learning basically presentation 101 when you do theatre. You might not be teachers, but you might get into business spaces. How do you convince someone if you cannot express yourself? So it was expression that I think is something I reflect about, and I think to myself, definitely the theatre helped me with that. And that's a life skill that I picked up. The second interesting bit, which I kind of, if I think about it now, is the concept that when we do theatre, we are of course working on things individually, but at the same time, it's a collaborative effort. As an individual, I have to sit and learn my dialogues. I have to figure out how I'd like to portray this particular character. But as a group, we kind of tie it all in together. Every person counts. Your lighting, your sound, the person who you are acting alongside with, everyone is getting into a collaborative effort. On my own, I can't come and do something on stage. I need people with me. And that idea that you work on yourself, but at the same time you learn to work as a group is important. It's not easy, but it's important. Think about it. When we started off, we were, how many were we, sir? 20 in English theatre maybe? Overall, Hashmi theatre would have had 50 people. Your first years are more than that right now. So look at how we have grown as a group. So therefore, working with people with different capabilities, different capacities, different ideas is something that you kind of pick up along the way. The third thing is an appreciation for diversity. I always imagine that, if someone comes and gives a speech, then they should do it in very posh. They should be very posh about it. The English should be impeccable. They should speak the Queen's English. They should all behave in a particular way. And then I come and join a forum where everyone speaks differently. Different dialects come into the picture, different accents, different facial expressions. People look very, very different. And then you realize that diversity is important, because at the end of the day, theatre is just a representation of the society around us. And the beauty of a play comes out because of those differences, because people are different. And it kind of makes you look at society differently. The idea that we're all different, we have different strengths, different weaknesses, but we're coming together for a common purpose. And that's something that really holds with me, the fact that I still remember, we were on a lift, and one of our juniors walked in, and he had this hair that was like all over the place. Like he had hair that was like a foot above his head. Now in Commerce College, what will they say? Cut your hair. Is that still a rule now?
Yeah.
Boys don't have to cut their hair. Oh, welcome to St. Joseph's College. You have to cut your hair. Professional dress code. But then Lavasa looks at him and there's an idea, and he says, this will be a good character for my play. Right? So the idea to look at differences, to understand that you can incorporate it, is something that you will really pick up. Needless to say, you will pick up on your oratory skills, your ability to talk. It's great for your self-confidence. You will feel nervous on stage, your leg will shiver, but after your first play, you think to yourself, oh, like I've really made it. And it's such a great boost to your self-confidence that later in life also, when you have to maybe make a speech, it makes things a lot easier. So there are so many experiences that you will get from theatre at the college level. Some of you, of course, a lot of my batchmates decided to pursue theatre from a professional perspective. They loved it so much. They got their degrees and they said, we want to continue with theatre because we see ourselves going ahead with that. And then you have people like me who said, I'll just put it into whatever I do in daily life. So your learnings, you will have so many things that you'll pick up along the way, so many experiences. But ultimately what I feel is you will get a greater appreciation for the people around you. Because today when I look at people and when they're talking, I'm also looking at all their mannerisms and possibly how that could be incorporated. I'm looking at their facial expressions. I'm looking at when they're speaking to me, what is the reaction that they have when I speak as well. Because ultimately, believe it or not, the secret of acting boils down to this. Acting is nothing but, anyone knows? Anyone? Acting is nothing but reacting. You are reacting to the other individual. It's not you sitting and delivering one dialogue and saying, okay, now it's your time to say your dialogue. You are reacting. You are bouncing off each other's emotions. And that's how it is in real life as well. When someone's speaking to you, you are trying to listen to them beyond the words that they're saying. You're looking at their facial expressions. You all do that in class as well, right? Is my teacher having a good day? Is she having a bad day? And accordingly, you're gauging whether you want to trouble the person or not. You are analyzing and you are reacting according to that. So there's so many things that you pick up. You pick up the ability to think on your feet. We once had a play, and I won't tell you which deemed to be university it happened in, but they switched off our mics. Right? So when we went to do our play, they switched off our mics, which means the sound console could not hear us. And we have this one scene where the telephone is supposed to ring. Sound console has not heard us, right? How will the telephone ring? But we still need to pick up the telephone. So what do you do in a situation like that? I'm not answering it. It depends, right, from person to person. When you're on stage and someone forgets a dialogue, how do the rest of you come together as a group to support that one individual? What I'm trying to say is, if any of you are actually going to stand on stage, you won't just learn your dialogues, you'll end up learning the other person's as well. The reason is you have to know what's coming next. If they forget, then you need to also bridge that gap. Thinking on your feet is possibly the best thing that I kind of learned from here. That it doesn't matter, you might make a fool of yourself, but it's okay. So, at this particular forum, we've learned to laugh together, we've learned to laugh at each other as well, because that's how you kind of grow, right? So you look at the person who's sitting next to you today, and I think that you're going to have a very, very special bond with that person, simply because it is with this person or these people, look around, that you are going to do the next 3 years of rehearsals, being on time. Being on time is very, very important because you need to respect each other's time. You are going to learn different ways to communicate. You are going to build a fantastic BCom experience. Because ultimately, to be the business person of tomorrow, if you have no presentation skills, no one's hiring you. Your marks can be brilliant. So presentation, presence of mind, creativity, are some of the things I hope that you get from this particular experience. So I will not continue for long because I know that in theatre also we say, it's reaction. So by your faces also I can understand that it's time, right? You have to also figure that out. Understanding other people. So therefore, there are any questions that you have, I'd be very, very happy to answer it.
How do you develop stage presence? If you're on stage, you need people to look at you when you're acting, talking, reacting, whatever.
Alright, how do you develop stage presence? I would say that it comes down to your voice, it comes down to your facial expression, right, ultimately, and how you maybe utilize the stage as well, right? Today, have I utilized the stage? Not really, because when you are in a play, when you're actually going to talk, if you stand in one place and keep speaking, you're not going to really draw people's attention in. So stage presence, I think, is a combination of all of it.
So your voice is important. You're not screaming at anyone, but you are being loud. Can you hear me there? Great.
Right. I use a mic because now it's like a professional hazard for me. If my voice goes, then one whole class goes, and we need to make our classes, and all our syllabus has to be completed. So yeah, I would say expression. I would say voice is very important. I would also say it's experience and practice as well, because the more you rehearse something, the easier it becomes for you to kind of do that.
And how important is it to act with your eyes?
To act with your eyes, I think facial expressions include your eyes as well. For example, I know that when sometimes people are angry, they tend to use their eyes to kind of shoot daggers at people, and you can. It's a very important thing. According to me, when I say facial expression, I mean the whole, everything. Your eyes are important. Unlike movies, there's no camera that's focused on you as such. Like there's no one seeing like a blown up version of you, and there are people who are going to be very far back as well. So ensuring you can get the message across would involve a lot more effort, according to me.
What's like the scariest thing you had to do with maybe like the most experience, apart from like the typical stage man?
The scariest thing? For me, I never imagined myself crying on stage, because I'm not the kind of person who would do that. And I thought to myself, so I had this scene where to sit and cry over my son's dead body. And I had this issue that whenever I was on stage, I don't know, maybe because I'm happy, I guess, I had this tendency of smiling, and I was horribly scared that I'd smile. So I'd say, oh no. Right? I was very, very scared about it. But I think it's the nerves and everything, like when I had to, it just came through. Apart from that, the nervousness would be, and this is something that you'll learn, at Hashmi Theatre Forum, I don't know if it's the same now, sir, but I remember that I had to lift props. Is the same thing now as well? Yeah? Yes. The actors move props, okay, which means that you can be the star, all right? It might be your face that's there, and they've blown it up and put it on the poster. But if that table has to be moved, you'll be part of that process. One of the most stressful things is scene change. We had around 12 to 13 scene changes in a play. Imagine, and they time you, right? Every minute counts, because you want to complete that play within that time frame. One of the scariest things is set change, because everything has a particular position, a particular angle, and you have to do it. I couldn't walk in a sari, okay, unfortunately, but I had to hitch it up and lift the table, and I had to move. So you need to be able to, that for me was something that was, and I was very, very paranoid that because you're working as a team, there are other people moving it as well. So you need to have that trust that they will put that particular prop in that particular position. Because something as a telephone being put weirdly would completely change how you'd stand. So set changes involves you also lifting. So don't think that if I'm on stage, I don't have to lift anything. Or if I'm on lighting, I only have to look after the lighting. It's a completely collaborative process.
I have like two questions. So firstly, how do you prepare before a play? And secondly, we have different types of plays that you're doing now. Say street play, proscenium, mime.
Mm-hmm.
So how will you prepare accordingly? Suppose first we have, suppose if I'm going for two events, street play and mime, how will I adapt?
I think that's a very valid question. See, what you require in a proscenium play is very different from what you require in a street play. Have you all seen both?
Yes.
Yeah, have you all? And even a mime is completely different. So your frame of mind has to be like on point, and it's going to take you a little bit of time to kind of switch between the three. We never used to switch. We used to do one team would do proscenium, one would do street play, and another team would do mime altogether, because your requirements are different. In a mime, it's completely exaggerated, right? Your entire facial expression, your body, it's very exaggerated. When you do a street play, it's more getting the pulse of the people. So when you do a street play, you're trying to get a social message or a theme across. And when you're doing a proscenium play, of course, expression is involved, but not as exaggerated as a mime. Are you really going to do all three at once? You'd love to, okay. So, sir might not let you. Why? Because he's very, very particular that you're on time. Because a lot of these events overlap. But if you are someone who is doing it, then you will also have to create a mechanism to switch between your three roles. Because what will happen is ultimately it will kind of seep into the other performance. So, for example, if you do the mime and then you go to the proscenium, then automatically that's affecting how you are acting on stage essentially. For me, I had that problem with elocution and debate. Do you all do elocutions now? Elocution is poetry recitation. You recite a poem and you do it very express. You have a lot of expression when you do poetry recitation. But when you do a debate, it's talking to people as such. So if I come and I talk to you and I say, are you really excited? No, I'm not. That's not natural, right? So you have to be very natural when you're doing a debate, whereas in an elocution, you are, of course, emoting and expressions and voices are changing. And I had that issue that when I was switching from an elocution to a debate, my debate sounded very unnatural, like as if I was making a speech. See, one thing that I picked up from theatre is that ability to seem natural. You can't sound like you're actually making a speech even if you are, right? It's something you've mugged up, I agree, but at the same time it can't seem that way. So that for me was difficult. And the only way you can do that is practice. So you'll have to keep practicing. But on the same day, I've never done both.
What's the first thing you think of when you get a role assigned to you? What's the first preparation on your mind?
What's the first thing? So our role assignment, of course, was we would come and we would audition, and our director, conceptualizer, and screenwriter would basically take our audition. And it's not necessary that you get the role that you wanted. Okay, let's be very honest there. Let's be very clear. But according to me, as long as you get one role, it's brilliant. Okay, as simple as that. I still remember one of my juniors, her role was to dance around like a butterfly. I still remember that. Okay, I still remember that. And she took it up and she did it. So the first thing that comes to mind, at least when I looked at a role, was what exactly is the character, where are they coming from? And of course, what are my lines that I have to learn up based on it? I mean, the first thing you do is you kind of analyze the whole thing and kind of figure out where you're going to be speaking possibly. So yeah, but then who the character is and where is that person coming from? What is their background and what possibly could you do it? I also do a bit of research. For example, if there are, some of you might say that I don't want to look at other people's work and I'd like to do it from ground up. But for me, if there is an opportunity to see, I will see. And I will look at other people doing it and maybe figure out where I'd like to that's me personally. Some people will say, I'd like to bring my own take to it and more power to you.
How hard is it to leave theatre after all your 3 years?
How hard was it to leave? So from BCom, I went right into MCom. Right, which means that in MCom at that point of time, theatre was not allowed, okay, because we had to just study, research. Our MCom is part of theatre now, so I think they are. They're not, is it? Yeah, we're deprived, right? We're a very deprived lot, and it's actually a horrible feeling because you are in the thick of things, and now, see, if you leave campus, it's a different thing altogether. I was on campus. I had to see people going up on stage and think to myself, I wish I was there as well. But at the same time, it's also a feeling of great pride because these are juniors who joined when you were a senior and now they've taken the association forward. And that's great. It's a great feeling as well. So I think it's like bittersweet. Have I left theatre? No. Your teachers are nothing but actors, right? And they're doing theatrics in class. You think about it. Ultimately, it boils down to this. Whatever role you take, you are still in theatre, whether you like it or not. You're still playing your part.